I am
that Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Jesus dude.
What's up, people? Hotep to the family.
Hotep.
Shout out to Khaled Muhammad and Tariq Nasheed for those sound bites. Appreciate those brothers. Got a wonderful presentation lined up for you today. Little afternoon presentation. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Later on, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight, I will be having a conversation with the illustrious and remarkable Mo Fax. Yes, Mo Fax will be gracing the channel. We'll be talking about a whole lot. Everything you want to hear about. We'll be talking about Biden. We'll be talking about SCOTUS. We'll be talking about the pandemic. We're going to cover it all. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about Russia. We're going to talk about central banking, economics, politics, you name it. We're going to cover it tonight at 8 p.m. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and tune in later on tonight. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful talk. Also, as you already know, Men of Order, official sponsor of this channel. Make sure y'all visit menoforder.com. Restoring the feeling to masculinity, bringing men closer to wealth, power, and sovereignty through our wonderful content archive. A lot of great content has gone out over the past year. This morning I published an article on Russia now accepting Bitcoin and oil. Will that happen? More than likely not. I think really what was happening is the guy was just saying, hey, he's kind of making fun of the West. Like, yo, we'll accept any currency. But as for the West, yeah, y'all got to pay us in our currency or some hard assets like gold. So make sure you go check out that article to get all the fine details of the decisions made by the head of energy at the Duma in Russia. So this morning, today's presentation was inspired by something I was listening to this morning. This morning I was listening to the Breakfast Club on the radio while taking the kids to school. And I heard something that created some feelings of elation within me. I heard the Breakfast Club exposing Democratic policies. And I said, wow, finally, we're talking some sense here. So I'm going to play pieces of that interview for you today. We're going to dissect it. I don't agree with everything in that interview, and I will highlight the parts I agree with and the parts I disagree with. If you would like to participate in today's show, if you would like to not be a grifter, please drop me a super chat. Also, Cash App is $ Hotep Jesus. If you want to support this channel, help us grow so we can bring you the news, information, bigger, better, and badder. Once again, please super chat, questions, comments, concerns, arguments. We love it. We love it all here. And also, you can Cash at me, $ Hotep Jesus. All right, let's go ahead and do you want to say hi? Yeah. Do you want to? Okay, she's not ready to grift. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure the baby Griff wasn't in the mood to griff. So let's go ahead and pull this up on the screen right now. So this interview is with Cheryl McKissack, civil engineer, and Don Peebles, who is activist and many other things. So yeah, we're going to work through this interview and show you exactly why I was so proud at some of the things they were saying. So let's go to the first time stamp. On the first time stamp, they're dealing with the subject of reparations. Very interesting topic, very controversial topic, depending on who you ask. Let me make sure the audio is good. Yep, audio is ready. All right, let's hit play on this thing and let's watch this.
Don said it works for you for a much longer time.
I wanted to ask y'all, 'cause y'all, Don brought up something. What does reparations look like for y'all? Like, what is reparations for
This would be a good one.
I agree with you there. But I think more important, on Affirmation Tower, the state of New York isn't doing us a favor. We're paying them more money.
That's true.
We're paying them more money,
Absolutely.
$300 and some million for the property, more than anybody else offered to pay them. No one offered to build a $3.6 billion building. We're offering to build the tallest, the biggest, and the most expensive. And as a result, it produces $5 billion of revenue to the state in the first 30 years, almost $1 billion in year one. Mm-hmm. So they're not doing us a favor. Reparations to us, I think that what's realistic for us is that the entire system of how our government does business changes and is reflective of population demographics.
So I agree with 50% of what he said so far. I think we do need to change the way that government handles business, how they conduct their business, not our business, their business. Says what? What does it say? Did I just get a warning? Oh man, I think I just got a warning. It says I can't release copyrighted material. All right, if the stream shuts down, I'll just come back with the transcript and I'll read the transcript of what they said. So just bear with me for a moment here. Let's see what happens.
So if you're in a city that's 50% black, 50% of the government contracts go to black businesses. 50% of
if the stream shuts down, it'll come right back. Just hang tight.
The money, the public employee pension systems and so forth are invested with black businesses. If you're a business like Goldman Sachs or whatever, and you are taking institutional capital as an investment advisor, then you've got to deploy that reflective of the population demographic. So if you're running a national business, black people are 13% of the population, 13% of the loans have to be made to black businesses and black people on the same terms that you make them to the white firms. So if we could do that,
okay, yeah. So it's telling me here that my stream may be temporarily blocked. Are you guys seeing that on your end? One's in the chat if you're seeing on your end. Two, if you're not seeing that. I'm going to go ahead and default to the transcript and read what the transcript says so we don't have any issues. So let's find this. This is the 45-minute mark. And let me actually share that part of the screen so you guys can read along with me with the transcript. Okay, so you guys can see the transcript on the screen there. Okay, so you're not seeing it then. Okay, I'm just seeing it on my end. All right. Fair enough. Let's just make sure we don't have any issues because I don't want to have any copyright issues and have the stream shut down. So it says here, you've got to deploy that reflective of the population demographic. So if you run a national business, black people are 30% of the population, 13% of the loans have to be made to black businesses and black people on the same terms that you make them to white firms. So we could do that just as a fairness. Now, I don't agree with that. That's one thing I do not agree with. Okay, thank you, YouTube, for another warning. As you can see, I'm not playing the audio anymore, so relax. So yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because what this advocates for is an expansion of government. And if you watched my stream yesterday or the day before when we were covering the SCOTUS hearings, basically told you that the Republicans are supposed to keep the government small. The Libertarians pretty much don't want any government at all. And, the Democrats want to increase the size of government. That's essentially what they'll do. And I am not in favor of allowing the government to have any control over the private sector. And you should not want the government to have any control over the private sector. And we can prove that because that's exactly what happened during Jim Crow. Jim Crow was the government taking control of the private sector and basically saying you can't hire black people. Now, what they're saying is we should increase the size of government to say that we should provide equity to black people. But this is a very serious precedent they may set if they were to do this. So let's look at this on the flip side. Let's look at the precedent that this would set. Basically, what it's saying is the government can tell businesses how to run their operation. What that precedent is basically saying is if and when the government decides to become racist again, they can then tell black people how to run their operations. Okay? I'm not going to deal with the whole 13% thing and the numbers and all that. It's a little too pedantic. Let's just deal with the high level situation. Yes, we need deregulation. Just a chick got it right. But you know, as if you're a black person in America, last thing you would want is the government increasing in size, especially with their track record of being a oppressive regime. And no, you do not want them to set the precedent and say, hey, because let's say this were to go before the Supreme Court and this were, I don't know, Goldman Sachs versus the people. And it said Goldman Sachs now has to give 13% of their daily operations, capital, whatever it is, to black people. That precedent set by the Supreme Court would then say that the United States government can tell businesses when and how to conduct their business. And then that is going to give the government more power and could affect other groups. You cannot legislate equality. You cannot legislate morality. And that's what government likes to pretend they'll do. They like to pretend like they'll legislate morality. Like they'll legislate equality, and it's just not possible. Big Poppy said hashtag Dems must pay. Remember that? E-Man Trimax said be safe though, beloved. Appreciate you, bro. Free Tax Stone, by the way. Tony Nieves. Very little news coming out, but a few more stories about Meta Biota and Biden coming out. Just wait till people actually learn about that. Oh boy. Okay. So yeah, so I'm just not, so continue to, he says something about economic apartheid, and we've seen that. Let's see here. He says, yes, I think America owes us something tangible. This is what Charlemagne says. All right. Going to this point right here. I'll just play a little bit.
It's good to me.
Yeah. So I think America owes us something tangible
Yes.
by giving us capital.
I do agree with that. They owe all Americans capital, especially after their egregious behavior last year.
Right. And I think that, look, I think there should be some place where there's like a pool of capital that goes to black people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm all for a pool of capital going to black people. Yes, I am. I don't care if you disagree with that or not, but I'm down for it.
And the
sort
black
of like
people,
the PPP loan.
Right. So now, is that what I would do if I were in charge of the reparations conversation? No, I probably would not say, hey, here's a bunch of capital. That's just not what I would do. Would I accept said capital if it passed through? Absolutely, I would. Nobody's turned down free money. However, I would not want to issue more capital. Okay. Now, my approach to the thing would be a deferment of tax payment, and maybe even an elimination of tax payment for black people for a set amount of years, a decade minimum, especially for those starting small business. As for the individual, we can talk about that conversation later. Now, let's talk about what happens is when you give when you create a pool of money and you give it out errantly, frivolously, you are going to rapidly destroy the economy. And you're going to find money landing in some places that you just couldn't predict. Okay. Maybe it lands at Louis Vuitton and Gucci. Maybe it lands at Mercedes-Benz and BMW. But just because you hand out a pool of black people, for example, you have some people who hit the lottery. And when they hit the lottery, what happens? If they've never learned money management, 2-3 years later, time has passed, and these individuals are broke again. So you can't exactly just give out a pool of money and say, hey, this will help the black community, because I don't believe it will. I believe it could hurt us more, and this could result in a type of inflation. It could add to inflation. Now, my approach with the taxes could also add to inflation, because taxes actually help deflate the currency, because they're taking money out of circulation or out of the economy, right? And it goes back to the government. So there's less money circulating in the economy. So my idea could also result in a sort of inflation. However, my idea could actually help the economy, because, like I said, personally, I would only issue tax exemption for black small business. To incentivize small business, to incentivize people, hey, go start a business, right? Start hiring people, And I think that'll have a tremendous effect on how people approach the IRS. And I believe white people will start saying, well, are there ways that we can receive reparations for what the government has done to us? And I think that it is time to have that conversation as well. And then little by little, we might be able to eliminate the I's, the R's, and the S's. So that's how I would go about it. I would say, let's distribute this. And I think this might offset the inflation that it could occur, because if the economy, the size of markets increase, then the inflation of the currency will fill that void. But when you just hand out money, it's actually going to not exactly increase the size of the economy. The money would sort of push the economy, as opposed to the size of the economy creating space for the new currency to fill that void. Instead, what you'll have, if you give out money, you'll have the money being bigger than the economy. And I don't know if you follow me, but it's the best way I can explain it without making this a long and lengthy presentation. Okay, let's see here. What is it? Yeah. No. All right, let's hop to. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about really fast before we continue. Let's talk about the definition of democracy. Or the Democratic Party. So here, Collins Dictionary, you'll see here, it says here, a Democrat is a person who believes in the ideals of democracy. And that's just not something that a minority group should advocate for. Why? Well, democracy means that if we have 10 people in the room and everybody's hungry, and 3 people don't want tacos, but a group can only order one order, well, if 7 people in the room say we want tacos, well, the 3 people in the room are just going to have to eat tacos. That's what democracy means. Democracy means that the majority rules. And if white people are the majority in America, then guess who is going to rule? So we all know that the original home in politics for black people was the Republican Party. We will appoint representatives, and these representatives will operate on our behalf. They will make decisions based upon our behalf. And this is much fairer than saying, hey, let's all vote on this and then end up eating tacos when we don't really want tacos. So at the very basic level of what it means to be democratic is antithetical to the black community's plight. It's antithetical to the black community's aspirations. Okay? Should not be democratic at all. When you say that, what you're basically saying is, I want white people to make decisions on my behalf because they are the majority. You just don't want that. So that brings us to the next clip. And this is where I was quite proud. Let's see, let me find my timestamp and I'll pull that up on your screen. Okay, here we go. Hopefully we don't have any copyright issues. Let's bring this back to your screen like so. Okay, let's hit play on this.
So I try to send a message. No, there's there are going to be some repercussions if you treat us unfairly.
You think we do ourselves a disservice by always voting Democrat, always being with one party, being so loyal to one party?
Yes, I think so.
Ooh. You heard what she said? I think so. He said, do you think we do ourselves a disservice by always voting for the Democratic Party? And she says, yes, I think so. Brave statement. Brave statement. Absolutely 100% agree with this woman. Oh, damn, they hit me with another copyright warning. So let's go back to the transcript before they shut the stream down. She says right here, I think so. I think we need to vote for what, so the transcript's not exactly perfect, so bear with me, because it's done by automation and robots and stuff. And I forget the name of the technology. It's not CPT-3. It's another technology that they use. But anyway, if a politician, as Don said earlier, runs a pension funds, so it says you need to vote your policies, what's right and what's important to them, right? And oh, it says, okay, so it's 3 years of Obama's administration, then going into Trump's first year. I told the caucus members when Trump came in, I know him and he's transactional. Go there and go meet with him with a list of things for black people, because you all weren't elected to be Democrats. You were elected to advocate for black people, your constituents. Wow. Powerful statement by Don right here. Powerful statement. And that's what we have seen from the Black Caucus. I just lost my place. I want to read that again, because this is just beautiful. Okay. Right here. It says right here. He said he chaired the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, which is the think tank for the 50 some odd black members of Congress. Legislative weekend in D.C., so I chaired that last 3 years of Obama's administration, then going into Trump's first year. And I told the caucus members, when Trump came in, I know him. He's transactional. Go there, meet with him with a list of things for black people, because you all weren't elected to be Democrats. You were elected to advocate for black people, your constituents. And what have we seen? What have we seen? We have seen them align themselves wholly with the Democratic Party, wholly with what the Democrats want. Why does this thing keep jumping around? Let me highlight it so we don't lose my spot. Whoops. But that's what we've seen. We've seen them just ride for the Democratic Party. They're not riding 5935. They're not riding for the black folks. Right? Whatever the white progressives say, they say jump. These Negroes in the Black Caucus say how high. You not a woman, you don't know what a woman is. All of a sudden, the Black Caucus don't know what a woman is. Out of nowhere, they just, oh yeah, I'm a black woman, but I don't know what a woman is. Because, for example, when we look at the SCOTUS pick, Miss Jackson, right? And Miss Jackson is sitting there and she's saying, and she's asked what to define a woman. And she says, I can't define it because I'm not a biologist. Well, why is she answering the question that way? She's answering the question that way because she is wholly beholden to the agenda of the white progressives. And the white progressives are the power structure. The white progressives are massa. And massa said, yo, you don't know what a woman is. Don't mess this up. They are the gatekeepers to power as well. They are the gatekeepers to that SCOTUS seat. And if she would have said a woman is someone who births children and has a menstrual cycle, that would have been it for her. The Democrats would have immediately turned on her because that goes against their current agenda. The white progressive constituents would have turned on her and they would have revealed their KKK hoods. It's just the truth of the matter. It's just, she can't even be honest with us because the Democrats are holding their power over her head. Same thing here, where he says, yo, go talk to Trump. Bring a list of things in front of him. He's transactional. You can make a deal with him. Why didn't the Black Caucus do that? Because the white progressives said, no. You don't talk to Trump. We need him out of here. We need you, Black Caucus, to work for us to remove him from office. Don't make any deals with this guy because that goes against our agenda in painting him to be some evil, despotic dictator. Okay. Steph Colonel, thank you for the super chat. He said DNC forgot to pay that invoice from the Breakfast Club. Can we talk about that really fast? So Charlemagne's a very intelligent individual. He knows what he's doing. He's timing his takes properly. When the Democrats were when they wanted to oust Trump, he was against Trump. Now that the Democrats look bad and the black community is starting to turn against the Democratic Party, he's reading the room and now he's like, okay, this is a mistake that we voted for Biden. We got to hold Biden accountable, right? So he's intelligent because he knows when to make these statements. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. Should have made these statements last year, but would he have as much power as he does, Charlemagne the God? Probably not. This is why I'm not mainstream, because I tell people the real for real right when I discover it, okay? And we said, do not vote for Biden, vote for Trump. And now we got food shortages coming, war, nothing for the black community, et cetera, et cetera. So coming back, it says, so he says, right here, go with the list and want this and ask them, what does he want, and see if there's a deal that can be made. But you can't put the black agenda on hold for 4 to 8 years because you don't like the guy in office. You got to play a game of power. You got to constantly fight because our agenda can't wait. We got to push our agenda every moment. So we should do business with whoever we have to get our program going forward. And so if it's a Republican, Democratic, Independent, Green Party, whoever it is, we need to tell them what we want. If they're willing to give it to us on the terms that are reasonable to us, we got to do business with them. It's a sensible take. This is what we've said for the past 5 years. And then we can vote again later, but we can't. There's something the transcript is, actually, let's just play that real fast to see what he's saying.
Got to do business with them. And then we can vote again later. But we can't. The Democratic Party.
He says right here, the Democratic Party takes us for granted. That's right. And they have for a very long time. And they can. And they use and they excite us. And they get us agitated by calling people racist. Let's play that part real fast.
That's right.
And they have for a very long time. And they excite us and they get us agitated by calling people racist.
You heard that. This is what we've been saying for the past 5 years. They use the term racist, they agitate us, they get us excited, and they use that against us. And that's what they did with Trump. That's why everybody said, yo, we can't vote for Trump, because the Democratic Party, just like Don Peebles just said, they used the term racist to agitate and excite the black community to lambast Donald Trump. So the Democratic Party can hold power. This is why so many seats were flipped. That term racist, white nationalists, white supremacists, they used racism to flip seats to Democratic Party. The fuel for the Democratic Party is the black community. They use our problems, our grief, our emotions to drive their agenda, not our agenda, their agenda, so they can hold power. Now, let's come back really fast. Let's take a break. We're going to come right back to that because there's more in there. And let's type in politics, right? Politics definition. Okay. So, let's see. Let's do it with Google. I'm using Brave. Let's do it with Google. All right, here it is. Let's make sure you can see this on your screen. So it says right here, this is Google's definition. It says the activities associated with the governance of a country or other area, especially the debate or conflict among individuals or parties having or hoping to achieve power. It's a beautiful definition of what politics is. Power. That's what they want. They want power. That's what these politicians fight over. Who has the power to make decisions for the country? I want to put that in I want to put light on that. I want to shine the light on that because it's very important. It's very important to understand what Democrats want and why they use the black community. This is all for power. This is all for power. Okay? So let's play that clip one more time.
At the end of the day, when I was in high school, by calling people racist. At the end of the day, when I was in high school, the majority leader of the United States Senate was a guy named Robert Byrd.
Woo! A guy named Robert Byrd. This is what he says. When I was in high school, now I'm going to read the rest of this for copyright reasons. He says, so he came every week. We had a class, paid school every week. Political leader would come and speak to our class for an hour or so, and you'd read up on them and so forth. And I read up and found out that Robert Byrd was a former Ku Klux Klan member. And so I'm asking around, how could that be? Is this really true? So you can imagine me as a 17-year-old boy saying, wait a minute, the majority leader of the United States Senate, a Democrat, was a Ku Klux Klan member. Let's listen to him say that.
And wait a minute, the majority leader of the United States Senate, a Democrat, was a Ku Klux Klan member.
You heard him say it. Now, how many people have said this? How many people have said this over the past 5 years? Biden attended his funeral. Robert Byrd was exalted by Hillary Clinton. They love this guy. So he says, so he evolved and changed and was acceptable to the Democratic Party. but how he saw us certainly is different than how we see ourselves. So we did business with him. So at the end of the day, we got to have an agenda and permanent agenda advancing us forward. So basically what he's saying is, how is it that black people have done business with Robert Byrd, a former KKK member, but can't do business with Trump? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay? Just doesn't make any sense. So he goes on and he talks about, the Supreme Court and, the black woman. And obviously he's in line with getting her appointed, which I disagree with, but that's neither here nor there for right now. But the point he was trying to make is, all right, it's fine you did that, right? You did that gesture and you got this black woman, da-da-da. You passed the Crown Act. Now you're saying that I can wear my dreadlocks and my afro to work. All right, whatever. But let's jump to this next thing.
Address that yet. And he spoke passionately, and he was the floor leader in the Senate for Bill Clinton for the 1994 crime bill. That led to the mass incarceration of black men.
There you go. This is the same guy who wrote the 94 crime bill, led to the mass incarceration of black men and women.
Our community and our people since 1994, because that bill wreaked havoc.
Before the 90s.
Yeah.
Because, the mandatory minimum sentence in the crack laws, that was the 80s.
80s, you're right. Yeah.
And I remember when I said that to him, I said, it led to mass incarceration. He said, no, it didn't. It was the mandatory minimum in the 80s. I said, well, you wrote that too.
Right.
You wrote that too. Charlemagne said, hold on now. He said, calm down, you two. What happened? He brought up the 94 crime bill. And then what he said, and then Biden said, well, no, that was something else passed in the 80s. And Charlemagne said, well, you wrote that too. You wrote that too, Biden. Huh? You wrote that too. How about that? So Robert Byrd, former KKK member, we worked with him, didn't want to work with Trump. Makes no sense. Biden, the 80s crime bill, the 94 crime bill, led to mass incarceration of black men and women en masse. And we still voted for this guy. All right. So let's continue.
I said, well, you wrote that too.
Right.
You wrote that.
Who was easier to do business with? Is it Biden or was it Trump to do business with?
I think Trump would be easier to do business with.
You heard that? You heard that? You heard that? He asked him, who do you think would be easier to do business with? Biden or Trump? And he says, Trump. Trump would be easier to do business with because there's no competing interest. He literally completely destroys the argument that Trump is a racist and wants to hold black people down. And he says there's no competing interest. And he's a decisive person. I think that the Democratic presidents have tried to mask this. The Democratic presidents have tried to mask hold on, let me play this to make sure I don't misconstrue his words.
Competing interests, and he's a decisive person. I think that the Democratic presidents have tried to make this this rainbow
constituency happy. So same thing about reparations and affirm minority contracting. I look at those like minority contract and affirmative action very differently. So this country owes two classes of people a great debt. And he says the Native Americans. And that's another conversation for another day. I'm not going to go into that. Because the founding fathers came over and stole their land, slaughtered, destroyed their communities. Debt because black people, over here, 100 plus oppressive conditions. We in this country gave them opportunity. That's very different. He says black people adapts and it's time to pay that. And Biden could do that. And he says, frankly, I was disappointed because I thought that President Obama should have done it. That's what he says right here.
I was disappointed because I thought that President Obama should have done it.
He says, we would have Trump is transactional. He said Trump is transactional, so you can do business with him today and be against him tomorrow. He's going to execute. He's going to understand that because he's wired that way. So we have to be focused on getting business done. And to this point in time, I can't think about what the president of the United States has done for black people, and he's been in office for a year. So how long do we have to wait for the man that we single-handedly put into office? And I agree, yeah, our agenda always is last. So he says here, we put Biden in office. He's been in office for a year. We didn't get anything. And our agenda is always last. Thank you for the super chat. Juke Joint. He says the black vote is a tiebreaker for the presidency. Whites are 50-50 and elections depend on if blacks show up or not. Yep. Exactly it. That's exactly it. So this is what he says. So he's noting. Now let's break that down. Let's break that piece down. You cannot complain about the decisions you've made as a people. Okay? We, as a black voting bloc, I'm saying we even though I don't vote, but we as a black voting bloc remove Trump from office because we allowed the Democrats to gaslight us and install the 94 crime bill, the 80 crime bill, advocate for KKK leader, member Robert Byrd. And now that he's in office and we put him there, now we are complaining and saying he ain't giving us nothing. Right there. Now we say he ain't giving us nothing. But Hotep's been told you weren't going to get anything. We told you wasn't going to get nothing. That's why we told you deal with Trump. He's transactional. He's a business guy. He makes sense. You can go talk to him. You can get stuff done with Trump. He had the platinum plan. We could have got stuff done under Trump. We could have got it done. Could have got it done under Trump, but we allowed ourselves to be gaslit by Democrats and the Democrat majority mass stream media. They deceived us and made us believe that Trump was the second coming of Hitler or something like that. Now he's in office and he's not giving us anything. And now all of a sudden we want to complain and say, Biden, what about us? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You cannot complain about what Biden is doing because you made that possible. We as black people made that possible. We dug our own grave. We did it. We dug our own grave. And now we're complaining about what we did. No, what you have to do now is you got to admit you were wrong, pick yourself back up, and think for yourself first. Disassociate yourself from loyalty to the Democratic Party and focus on who you can get business done with. You're going to have another opportunity in 3 years to change the course of this country. Are you going to allow the media and the Democrat monopoly to control you again, to gaslight you? Are you going to allow that to happen again? Are you? Because if you are, we're going to be back in the same position we are in now. Biden's talk about food shortages. We got war, inflation, gas prices is up, rent is up. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The situation is so bad, I have to move. I have to move. I can no longer live in this house because my landlord can't afford it. My landlord is so hurt by Democrat policies, by the Democrat economy, that he says, hey, I think I got to move back into the spot, so you guys got to go. He can't bear the burden of Biden. And I've sat with this individual. We've had conversations, political conversations. This individual asked me, my landlord asked me, he said, yo, why do you like Trump? So he's telling me I was wrong 3-4 years ago for liking Trump, but yet his life is now severely, he was making money under Trump, but now his life is severely affected by Biden policies. So much so, he's got to move back into his old place. Now I'm affected by this because now I have to uproot my family. We got to look for a new spot. And now we got to move because of Biden, because I'm not going to separate myself from the black community anymore. We all in this together. We uprooted Donald J. Trump and installed a true despotic dictator. And the thing is, he's not even a dictator. He's just a puppet for the regime, the new regime that has taken over. Just is what it is. Just is what it is. I think that was the last clip I wanted to play from this video. Hold on, let me go back to my main screen. So how Sean Bland said, you asked for this, you idiots, new level of dumb. You got to eat that. You got to eat that. It is dumb. It is absolutely dumb. We are idiots. Yes. Thank you, Sean Bland. You are correct. We are idiots. We integrated ourselves into a burning house. iCrit said, now people saying that Biden has nothing to do with any parts of our economy. Of course, it's called gaslighting. Gaslighting. Sean Bland said, hate you niggas. I don't blame you, bro. I would hate us too. I would hate us too. If a voting bloc voted in a regime who gave us the economy we're living under now, I'd hate them too. I'm not even mad at you, bro. Call this nigga all day long. It's not right, but I understand why you're mad. In fact, racism has its roots in government interference. It has its roots in government interference. We talked about this before, and there's many different ways that government has influenced racism. We talked about this before, minimum wage, because black people were competing. We saw this in South Africa from the works of Walter E. Williams. The black folks was competing based upon the cost of wage, the price of wages, and the white workers couldn't compete because they were getting undercut by black workers. And the government said, well, we're going to install minimum wage. And now here we have black people and socialists, etc., advocating for minimum wage. But minimum wage only hurts black people, only hurts small business. He said, niggas of all colors, bro. This country dumb. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Of all colors. Yes. Yes. Jonah Ryan said, compared to Canada and Castro's daddy, America was not that hard on First Nations. We were still running residential schools in the 90s. We were all right in the 90s. I think we were all right. We took a really bad turn under Obama. Obama's administration changed everything. I forget who it was. Oh, Shaka, my big bro, Shaka Akmos. He was like, yo, when Obama came to power, think about the people they got rid of. They got rid of H. Rat Brown. They got rid of Khalid Muhammad. And he mentioned another one. I want to say Malachi Z. York, but that might not be it. But Khalid Muhammad and H. Rat Brown were two large voices for the black community that they eradicated and replaced with Obama. This is Shaka Akmos' take. And when he said that, I'm like, wow, like the dates line up. the disappearance of these people line up with the propping up of Obama. And then what did we get under Obama? Under Obama, we got Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter sped up at a highly accelerated rate debauched and decadent culture. It is through the BLM faction, BLM global faction, that we got the rainbow agenda, which offset women. We see that now with Leah Thomas. We see that now in the Supreme Court hearings where they can't define a woman. Well, who accelerated that and made these pronoun conversations paramount, important? BLM pushed that agenda. If you go look on my channel, I got a video. It says Black Lives Matter is an LGBT organization. It's the gay agenda. I literally put that there, and they don't hide it. They don't hide it. In fact, when you ask the black progressives about what being pro-black means, they literally say you have to be trans inclusionary. It's literally what they say. You agree or disagree? I believe that if you're black, then it's just pro-black, no matter what you are. The thing is, it's all about divide and conquer, segmenting people and saying, well, if you don't support specifically this demographic, then you're not pro-black, right? So they like to divide us up based upon all types of categories, right? So you got long hair, you got blue hair, no, if you black, you pro-black, right? If you pro-black, it's all black people, no matter how your sexual identity. They made sexual identity, gender identity, supersede black identity. It is your sexual identity has taken precedence over the black identity. And that was to push that agenda, the LGBT agenda. And if they got their own agenda, I ain't no player hater. Get your thing on. I'm just telling people what it is and what's happening. So when we fast forward and we look and there's pronouns in the bio everywhere, and where's Leah Thomas and the SCOTUS is sitting in the seat and she can't tell you what a woman is. This all started under the Obama administration. This all started with BLM. These are facts. So, if there was some sort of wormhole, right? Or what's the machine called in Marvel where they enter and change through time or whatever? If this Earth went through a wormhole and landed us in some sort of alternate timeline, which sped up the democratic or socialist communist agenda, it happened during the Obama administration. Like, I want to say 25 years. The Obama administration, the last 2 years of Obama administration was equivalent to 25 years of time. That time period accelerated their agenda, which would normally take 20 some odd years, using black emotions, gaslighting black people, usurping the mind of black people. They got a 25-year agenda pushed in 2 years. It was like we went through a time portal. We went through a time portal, popped out the other end, and all of a sudden we wake up and there's pronouns and the bios everywhere. Just that fast. Cassius Cam, he said, it's just as much the red whites' fault for not baiting the right hooks and not being compassionate of the urban plight. No perception at all. You're correct. You're correct. I'm going to come to that point in a second. John J., what up, bro? Long time no see. Keep preaching. What up, John J.? Welcome back, bro. Long time no see. Where you been at, bro? Let's talk about the red whites. Well, the red whites also gaslit. The red whites, and this is in my new book, but the red whites, the new book coming out I'm working on, not Patriot Report. That's the previous book. The red whites have been gaslit by rhinos and by their grifter, influencer, political class. the takes, and even their own personal bias, right? Even their own personal bias has led to them not taking a strategic approach to politics. Their approach to politics is very reactionary. It's not very proactive. It's very reactive because the Democrats set the agenda. Then everybody argues over whatever the Democrats' agenda is. There's no agenda set. By the red whites. And that's what I like to do. I like to come speak to the red whites and show them here's a better strategy. Remember, when we're dealing with politics, we're dealing with power. So whenever you're dealing with power, you're dealing with war. Whenever you're dealing with war, you're dealing with strategy and you're dealing with tactics. Emotions go to the side. How you feel about situations has to take a backseat to strategies and tactics. Absolutely must. You wouldn't take emotions onto a war battlefield because that'll get you killed. You have to take strategies and tactics onto the battlefield. Okay? It's just facts. So coming back, under the Obama administration, life was accelerated, sped up so fast. Okay. Then he said Bush's family was involved as well. Well, Obama's a Bush. Absolutely. You're right, Lauren. You're absolutely right. Obama is a Bush. They're cousins. But yes, the Bush family was more, I want to say, foreign policy. Right. I want to say, they were more like establishing dominance over Iraq and destabilizing nations, But as far as this LGBT thing, that happened under Obama, that happened under BLM, and that's who were pushing this. Then under Trump was another accelerated period, right? And I want to say, just call it another 25 years, right? 10 years, whatever number we want to throw out there. The minimum is 10 years that it would take to change the face of a country. So within 8 years, changing the face of a country, which could have taken about 50 years, maybe a little less, to change the face of a country, happened in 8. 6, let's say 6 because it was the last 2 years of Obama and then the 4 years of Trump. Has completely changed the face of America. Then you add the 2 years of the pandemic, and you have to add another 20 years of cultural change between the vacation, the mass, and the destruction of black business. When you want to talk about the suicide rates, drug addiction being accelerated, and alcoholism being accelerated, right? So within the past, so that's 6, 8, and then this year. So let's call it 8. In 8 years, about 50 years of cultural change occurred. Vis-a-vis the black community. Vis-a-vis BLM. Literally. I'm sorry, I used vis-a-vis wrong. Vis-a means face-to-face. I'm sorry. Via BLM. Bush Sr. was president from 1989 to 2016. Oh, man. Cassius Can coming in with the heaters today. He says it's like the story from Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan wiped then years from everyone's memory. Yeah. Yes. Years just completely wiped out. Cultural change in this country just completely changed. I mean, how did we go from, what sports were to now Adidas featuring a commercial for female sports, women's sports, but with the T people involved? How did they do that so fast? How did they do that so fast? Mr. Scott, yes, thank you for the super chat. He said, look at marriage under Obama. SCOTUS, yes. Under Obama, it was him that said that gays should be married. Now let's talk about that for a second. Vis-a-vis, thank you. Thank you for the correction, Lauren. Now, should gays be allowed to get married? Yes, absolutely. I don't, you do whatever you want. I don't care. You should absolutely have the right to get married. Now, let's look at a time when we were in New York City, and I believe it was the Genovese family. And in this time period in New York City, gays were banned from certain establishments. The government was cracking down on them, having parties, etc., etc. And it was the Genovese family, the Italian mob, that alleviated some of the stress upon his community, opened up gay bars for the community, married a lesbian woman. But again, government involvement, right? So you wouldn't have needed to legislate that if the government in the first place wasn't an oppressive regime to begin with. So Obama's undoing what should have been done. Now let's look at what Obama did. Now Obama is setting that agenda, right, by legalizing it. Whether it's right or wrong is another conversation. I think it was the right decision. But the fact that it came under Obama, coupled with BLM, let you know the agenda they were ready to set. Let you know the agenda they were ready to push. Okay? But again, the accelerationism of our lives in the past few years, which got us to this point. And why? Gaslighting. And so I made a point the other day. I said the revolution is going to be on the battlefield of technology. The revolution is going to be on the battlefield of technology. One more time. The revolution is going to be on the battlefield of technology. And predictive programming has revealed this to us. Whether you've watched Altered Carbon or The Terminator or The Matrix, they're letting you know that the battlefield of revolution will be fought with technology. What do people complain about today? Big tech, big tech. And then as big tech grows, small tech grows. People are opening up their own social media networks, and Bitcoin is growing, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to have a bifurcation in the various cultures as they use technology for their own benefit. Technology is not going anywhere. Get used to it. For example, you have an iPhone or you have an Android, right? Let's say Android, for example. If you have an Android, this is why it's important to be technologically savvy. And in the future, if you want to be free, you are going to be forced to be technologically savvy. And those who are not technologically savvy will be under the thumb of the authorities. So if you take a look at your conservatives today, right? Take a look at your libertarians today. Take a look at all these boomers who don't understand Bitcoin, don't understand cryptocurrency, don't have a wallet, don't own cryptocurrency, are terrible at tech. If you fast forward 50 years from now, you are going to see a demographic of people become very technologically advanced out of necessity, out of a want, out of a desire to secure their own sovereignty. Using Android as an example. If you want to be sovereign with your Android device, well, you have to install an alternative operating system on said device. If you don't know how to do that, you will be subject to whatever it is Google wants to do, snooping, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to operate on the internet today anonymously, we have a blog post on Men of Order about using stealth to navigate this world of despotism. And then what do we have? We have a Tor browser. We have a Linux browser. And there's various things you can do to operate anonymously or as a ghost on the internet. And this is how VPNs, this is how people are going to operate. People that want to be free, this is how they're going to operate. They're going to be washing their Bitcoin, right? Their cryptocurrencies, right? And so yeah, this is the battlefield is going to be on the battlefield of technology. The faster you get hit with that, the faster you'll be freer, right? Freer. Okay. Yeah, I can't guarantee Thank you, Lauren. She says, church. Every time I watch Hotep Jesus video, I feel I'm in church. So the technology is the thing that is going to enslave us and free us. But again, technology is a tool. It's absolutely a tool. But we've seen it, for example, we saw it in the movie Terminator, right? And Terminator is coming and he wants to kill John Connor because John Connor is the leader of the revolution, free the people. But they hijacked the Terminator, and the Terminator is now on the side of the people. They're letting you know that the same technology that big tech uses can be hijacked. You've seen people jailbreak their phones before. You're going to see people jailbreak their Tesla. You're going to see people jailbreak their electric cars, right? All types of situations like this, okay? Jonah Ryan, thank you. He said Obama phone, free phone to control what you see. Potentially, I think some of those are analog, and it's a bit harder to snoop on those. Adrian C, attacks on technology incoming. Well, it's attacks on everything coming. That's what they love to do. So the battlefield is going to be technology, right? And the longer you wait to understand these things, the less free you'll be, the less sovereign you'll be. Like we were talking about the trucker convoy donating on these Bitcoins, and people were like, well, there's no off ramps for Bitcoin. I can't exchange it for the dollar. It's like, but wait, you just told me, and the Fed, the dollar's a corrupt fiat currency, but you want to take your sovereign Bitcoin and exchange it for dollars. It's counterintuitive. It makes absolutely no sense. Let's talk about portfolio diversity and distribution, investment allocation. I think it's very important for individuals today. And I'll give you an example of how a portfolio could be divided up. So this is a lesson, especially for the young folks. You take 50% of your income, and that's your investment pool, okay? After bills are paid, whatever's left over, after bills are paid, and you set aside what you need to eat and sleep and all that good stuff, right? You're going to take half of that, right? And we're going to take half of that, and we're going to make that your investment money every month. You're going to take, now depending on how aggressive you want to be, let's take 75% of it. Let's invest it in stocks. Let's take 25% of it and make that a cryptocurrency pool. You're going to take 25% and invest in that cryptocurrency. Maybe you want to go 50-50. It's up to you. Depends on your risk tolerance. Half cryptocurrency, half stocks, right? And do that every month. This is how you're going to, because you have to expose yourself to cryptocurrency. If you're not exposing yourself to cryptocurrency, you're just a fool. I mean, Russia is creating their own coin, right? And that's another thing. Like, I took a class with Cyprian at Bitcoin Mystery School, one of the best classes I've taken in the past few years. Definitely top 2, if not number 1. On Bitcoin. And I suggest everybody go take that course. I'm not getting paid for this recommendation. This is an honest recommendation. You need to learn this stuff. And he's the best teacher, I think, to teach you Bitcoin, because he keeps it 100, right? He tells you about all the bad about Bitcoin and all the good, and what cryptocurrency you need to be using and why you need to be using it. But people look at cryptocurrency as an investment tool. And as you see, I've used it as an investment pool, right? As an investment tool, but it's not exactly the right way to use it. Really what you want to do is, and again, you can be sovereign today. If your community decided, I remember back in the day, I used to say to myself, when I was in my Black nationalist stage and I wanted to create a Black nation within a nation, I said, I want my own currency. And this is before Bitcoin was a thing. I want my own currency. We need to have our own currency, because if we're transacting with their money, we're still under their system. And here we have today. And like I said, when I took the Bitcoin Mystery School, I literally created my own token. I'll show it to you right now. It took us all of 8 minutes to create our own currency. I'll pull that up on the screen now so you guys can see the proof. Bookmarks. Let's go here. And let's go here. It'll be up on your screen in just a moment. And you can actually see this and view the currency I created. Now, we just created this currency for fun, right? And I'll put this up on your screen in just a moment. Hold on. Just want to show you how easy it is to do this. Right here. You see on your screen. Grift token. This is the Grift token. Called, right here you see it's called Grift coin. Symbol, Grift. And I created, let me see if you can see that. No, you can't see that amount. I'll fix it. Right here, you'll see on the side of the screen, you'll see it says here, 28 million tokens minted. Current circulating supply, 28 million. Okay. And you'll see right here when I created this, March 6th. See it right there on the 14th hour. I created my own token. It's right there. It's right there. Okay. I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can go view this. But I created my own currency just for fun. Just for fun. It took all of 8 minutes. Why am I showing that to you? I'm showing it to you because, again, technology. Anytime you want to be free, you can. All you need is organization and agreement amongst people that say, hey, from now on, this is the currency we are going to use. The only thing that makes something a currency is trust and agreeing. That's it. The dollar is based upon trust and agreeing. Even gold is based upon trust and agreeing. We trust that this thing has value, right? And there's a lot of intrinsic value that gold has. We've talked about this in the Patriot Report series on this channel, et cetera, so I'm not going to go into it. But as long as you as a people say, this is the currency we're going to use to transact in, that immediately gives your currency value. So the point of this point is, why cryptocurrency? Well, cryptocurrency isn't supposed to be an investment vehicle. In order to understand that, we now have to go to the Bitcoin white paper. Let's pull that up on the screen right now. And this is very important that I speak to you guys about it because I know y'all not hip to this stuff. And your grifter class has not made you hip to this. But if we go to the Bitcoin white paper, the abstract, you see right here, it says Bitcoin. What does it say right here? It says a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It doesn't say investment vehicle. It says a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So let's read the abstract. The first line of the abstract. This is pretty much all you need to know about Bitcoin. If you can memorize or summarize this first statement, you understand Bitcoin. Obviously not in totality. You can't start teaching it, but you're 80% of the way there if you understand this first sentence. And it says here, Bitcoin is a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Why is this important? Why is this important? Well, it's important because freedom. What happens, and permissionless as well, is also permissionless, right? So what happens when you go to the bank and I want to send you $10,001? I got to fill out this paperwork. I got to answer questions, and the bank has the right to tell you no. So how would I send you? If I want to send you $10,000 or more than $10,000, because I believe that's the threshold now, based upon the regulation of these financial institutions through, I think, FinCEN, I have to fill out this paperwork. I need their permission to send you money. Bitcoin is permissionless. There's nobody that can stop me from sending you money. And that's why the governments have hated it so far, because it removes them as a middleman. So again, created my own token. I can now send payments directly from one party to another without the need to go through a financial institution. What do you think's happening with the Democrats in Russia? Like, oh my God, we got to place sanctions on Russia. And then you got Elizabeth Warren and other people are saying, well, they're circumventing the sanctions. Let's bring this up on your screen as well so you guys can take a look at this. They're circumventing the, hold on, I'm going to bring it up on your screen so you can follow along with me here. right here. They're circumventing sanctions using cryptocurrency. And they don't like that. Right here. So, Russia is using cryptocurrency. So it says right here, the European Union brought cryptocurrency under the list of sanctionable financial tools on March 9th, according to Reuters. Crypto will now fall under anti-money laundering and terrorist financing laws. 90% of the firms withdrew their applications or refused for failure to meet the anti-money laundering standards, according to David Raw. So if you want to circumvent governments, it's crypto that they're doing this with. So here it says Russia sought to ban cryptocurrency outright, but they did a 180 on that. Did a complete 180. So it says right here, Russia, this is on menoforder.com. Let me make sure y'all can see my pretty logo. Here we go. Russia has since changed its stance on crypto and issued a license to Sberbank to allow the firm to issue digital assets. Sberbank said it would allow Russian firms to invest their currently idle funds to generate income. And they're going to start this thing called Sbercoin. I'm not sure how you say it. I think it's Serb. So Russia's going to have or allow this bank under the jurisdiction of their central bank. It says right here, issue their own DFAs, digital financial assets, proving the cash requirements will enable them to attract market investments. Acquire DFAs issued through this Serb information system, which will position them to invest their currently idle funds to generate income, make other DFA transactions in accordance to Russian law. So Russia is saying, oh, you guys want to play sanctions? No problem. We have this beautiful thing called cryptocurrency, which we were against before, but now that we see the power in it, we're going to use it. So an entire nation is using it to circumvent the oppressive regime of the West. And you, as an individual who wants to be sovereign, you, somebody who wants to be free of the oppressive regime of the Democratic Party, are afraid of cryptocurrency. Yet I just showed you how easy it is to start your own cryptocurrency. I just showed you. It's right there. Griff token. Griff coin. It's right there. Right there. Created my own coin. Just like that. 8 minutes. Bitcoin Mystery School. Teaches you how to do it. Did it right on Bitcoin Cash. It's basically two main types of Bitcoin. Bitcoin BTC, which is the mother of all of this, the genesis of cryptocurrency, as we know it today, at least, and Bitcoin Cash. How do I see these two things working? Well, I see Bitcoin BTC as being a reserve asset, sort of like gold, and I see Bitcoin Cash as or eCash is the suggested one by Cyprian as being the thing that we transact in, right? Now, why is it important to expose your portfolio to cryptocurrency? It has very little to do with the rising price of cryptocurrency and everything to do with the devaluing of the dollar. Now, we've seen that the dollar is being decoupled as the world reserve currency. I'll show you here. This is all part of the Great Reset, et cetera, et cetera. But as you see here, Russia is now, they willingly admit it. It says right here, we have been proposing to China for a long time to switch to settlements and national currencies for rubles and yuan. With Turkey, it will be lira and rubles. The set of currencies can be different, and this is normal practice. If there are bitcoins, we will trade bitcoins. This is the chairman of the Energy Committee of the State Duma of the Russian Federation. Now, are they going to accept Bitcoin? I don't think so. Mostly because Bitcoin is a public ledger, kind of putting your business out there. The fees are very high. So it's probably not the best means, but I'm sure there's other cryptocurrencies. Maybe they could use Monero. Maybe they could use Bitcoin Cash. Maybe they could use eCash. They can do this with other cryptocurrencies, or they'll just, like I said, let's look at another piece of news that you guys might not be aware about. But Russia and China are doing what? Russia and China are set to launch a new international currency. And I'm speculating that it could be a cryptocurrency. Why wouldn't it be? It's the easiest thing to do. I just showed you. It takes 8 minutes to do. Literally takes 8 minutes. Jimmy Doss Hotep said, hit up that Coinbits app. Makes investing in Bitcoin easy. I appreciate it. No doubt, bro. John Jay said, Bhagavad Gita says that the confusions of one's race, caste, is the root of all evil. The powers that be know this, and that's why they can use racial politics to promote other agendas so easily. Thank you, sir. Dark Knight Dev, he said, hey, HJ, off topic. Could you do a collab with Ryan Stone? You have a familiar friend, Rolo. Ryan talks about relationships and gender. You are great at interviews. I would definitely support it. I'll do that. I know Ryan. I'll reach out to him. Good idea. Pariah Bones, he said, did you use BCH over BTC because it's cheaper because the block size is limited? I know it's an experiment. I'm just curious. I'm using BCH because it's like literally no fees. Like if I wanted to send you money, I wouldn't do it with Bitcoin. I would do it with BCH. I would probably take some cash, turn it into USD coin, and take that USD coin and turn it into BCH, and then send you BCH. And I still would probably pay less fees, especially if it was a large transaction, like a large transaction. I definitely wouldn't send a large transaction using BTC, or even a small transaction. I wouldn't use BTC. So yeah, I would definitely use BCH. I think block size may have something to do with that. I have to do more studying. I don't know cryptocurrency that goddamn well. I apologize for my ignorance in regards to that matter, but I believe block size does have something to do with that. But yes, I'm choosing BCH to send money because it's cheaper, right? That's the whole point of sending money, right? Like if you say I'm going to send it through Western Union or some other means, you would look at what's the fee I'm paying, right? And I don't want to pay fees to send money. If I send you money in BCH, it's literally fractions of a penny, right? Depending on the size of the transaction. Same thing with eCash. eCash, you're going to pay minimal fees, right? So, people are saying like, hey, your Bitcoin is, on the public ledger, blah, blah, blah. And Biden currently, you want to talk about democratic policies, right? Because that's what we're exposing today. So let's pull this up on the screen and I'll show you something interesting in the world of technology. So right here, you'll see it in a second. Right here it says Biden's cryptocurrency executive order. And what are they doing? The feds want to study. It says right here, agencies across the government to study cryptocurrencies and a central bank digital currency, CBDC. And you hear me talk about this all the time, but they are currently trying to. The order will direct federal agencies to examine potential regulatory changes as well as national security and economic impact of digital assets. Right. So right here, so the Fed. It says the Fed is set to form a digital currency unit. It says here they cover two main functions: blockchain analysis and virtual asset seizure. So what does this mean? Well, blockchain is the ledger that will that is the ledger that basically keeps track of the transactions, and they want to analyze the blockchain. So what they're going to do is look at the blockchain and try to track how you're conducting all of these different transactions, right? So they can see, okay, where did this Bitcoin come from and where is it going, right? Where is it coming from and where is it going? So then they talk about virtual asset seizure, right? So now they want to see where it's going and they want to see, well, after we see where it's going, how can we seize these assets? Now, if anybody knows, you can't seize anybody's Bitcoin. You just can't do it. You can arrest them, but you can't exactly seize their Bitcoin unless you get their keyword phrase, their key phrase. If you don't have their 12 key phrase, their 12-word phrase, you can't get it, right? So there's no way that they can take your Bitcoin unless you give them that key phrase, right? And there's certain ways to hide that phrase, and so you don't forget it or put it in certain places, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as they don't get your key phrase, they can't have access to your Bitcoin, right? So what they want to do is they want to find out where your Bitcoin is going. So why am I saying that? Well, I have a piece of software on my computer right now that will take my Bitcoin and mix it. It'll literally take my Bitcoin and mix it, right? What do I mean by mix? Basically what it does is it generates a whole bunch of wallets and starts sending wallets, Bitcoin to different wallets, and then Bitcoin to other people's wallets, and then this whole pool of people. So they're just mixing it up. And then now when you look at it, you're like, all right, I don't know where this Bitcoin came from because you've divided it into all these many different parts. And this went here and went there, da, 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 da. And now the FBI cannot track where this Bitcoin came from, where it's going. And now your Bitcoin is anonymous. So when you want to do your transactions, they can't track you, right? So this technology exists. That's why I said the battlefield of freedom and sovereignty is going to be on technology. Just is what it is. So again, freedom is possible, but freedom is possible for the technologically savvy. I'll show you another article on menoforder.com. You guys got to check this website out. We're putting out like some of the best content on the internet. So right here it says, when big tech hates you, use stealth, right? And then you should use VPN, some suggestions there, different browser. I'm currently using the Brave browser. Swap your OS, and you talk about Tor, and you talk about using Tails, right? And I'll actually show you Tails here in just a second. Switch to Gab, right? So here's Tails. This is right here is a portable operating system that protects against surveillance and censorship. So this is a piece of software that you can use to operate anonymously on the internet, so the feds can't track you down, right? And obviously there's going to be courses and information online you'll need to study to learn how to use this stuff and install this stuff and whip around the internet. And obviously this isn't something you're going to use all of your software on, so you're going to need a dedicated PC to operate. So you have a ghost PC to whip around the internet with, and then you'll have your regular PC that has your TurboTax or whatever software you got on there, your OBS, but you can operate with stealth. So again, you guys want to talk about snooping, they say, oh, well, privacy, right? They always talk about, the red whites always talk about privacy, the government snooping. It's like, well, did you know technology exists so they couldn't? Did you know that? So what do they say? They want expansion of government to stop these companies from doing that. It's like, no, you don't want the expansion of government. You don't want the government having more oversight over the private sector. That's not what you want. Anytime the government puts pen to paper, they create destruction. What you want is a better mind, your own mind. Create a better mind. Get more technologically advanced. It's going to be paramount in the future. It's going to be mandatory in the future. It's just going to be ubiquitous in the future. Everybody, if you go look at all the movies, like I said, they all kind of give you that window of insight into what the future looks like. And even grandma is jailbreaking guns, because guns are going to be electronic, et cetera, et cetera. People are jailbreaking this, jailbreaking that, da, 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 da. Okay. I gotta go. I gotta go look in an apartment because, well, Biden's America. So yeah, thank you everybody for let me just real quick shout out everybody who wasn't grifting today and supported the channel with the super chats. Big Poppy, E-Man Trimix, Tony Nieves, Steph Colonel, Juke Joint, Jeremy Rhodes, Mr. Watts, Backseat Politician, Jonah Ryan, Cassius Cam, John J, Mr. Scott, Adrian C, Jimmy Doss, Hotep, Dark Knight Dev, and Pariah the Boneless. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. I'm about to get out of here and see if I can find a new place to live, because otherwise I might be homeless. And if I'm homeless, well, the streams will stop. I'll have to do them from my phone if I even still have one. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you have not already. Share this. Like, I know a lot of people ask, like and comment. No, screw that. I don't care about the algorithm. Share it. Share this out. Get other people watching this so they can get educated on what's going on here. And I'm out of here. I'll be back later, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking to Mickey Fax about America, politics, etc., etc. Oh, wow. Damn, Rob Trickle with the $50 super chat. Oh man, it gave me goosebumps. Thank you. I appreciate you, bro. Much appreciated. Thank you for supporting the channel. Truly appreciate that. That's exactly what we need to keep this engine going. We are powered by the people. There's no sponsors on this channel as of yet. So we appreciate you and everybody supports this channel. But again, go share this out. I'm Hotep Jesus.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
And Hotep to the family.
Hotep.
Love y'all. Be safe. Oh, shout out to Renee Vogel, $10 $10 Cash App. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. One love.